Welcome to this episode of The Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to you by Self-Realization Fellowship, where each week you can receive inspiration and guidance from Paramahansa Yogananda's Kriya Yoga teachings. This talk is entitled A Promise of Light by our beloved past president, Sri Daya Mata.
I would just explain something to you. I have carried with me for some 60-odd years a little amulet. It is a little picture of Gurudev and a lock of his hair, and that I've carried with me around the world. And I have never spoken without first bowing to my Guru, because of myself I am nothing. It is He who is everything. So I come to you in that thought of God and our beloved Guru. Let's be seated. So nice to see so many of you again. Before we begin, I wanted to pay special tribute to all of you who have contributed throughout the year in the temples, in the centers, in the groups, not only through your support, material support, but great also is the spiritual support, the moral support which you give to Master's work. We appreciate every thought that you send. We appreciate all of the loving wishes that you express. We appreciate your love, and we reciprocate in the same manner. Someone asked me how we could deal with the present world as it is, and I prayed very deeply about that, and it took me back to that divine experience that I had in India at Babaji's cave 30 years ago in 1963. And I had a superconscious experience where I saw that the world was going to be facing a very difficult time, a time of great turmoil and unrest and confusion. And I remember in that little hut where we stayed that night before we went to the cave of Babaji, I cried out, and my companions asked me what the problem was. I didn't want to talk about it, but I knew it had some deep meaning, not merely for Daya Mata, but for the world. That was a great dark cloud that was covering the world. And I was horrified to see the darkness of that cloud. But in the next instant, I saw the great, divine, loving, all blissful light of God pushing back those waves, those clouds. And I saw in that experience that all was going to be well with the world. This is the time that we are passing through those troubled experiences. There are problems everywhere, in every nation. Why? Why these experiences? We are passing through the very same kinds of experiences that took place many, many centuries ago. We think, that the time of the plague was only during a time when the plague struck the Egyptians, when they had made prisoners of the Jews, as you may recall in your scripture. No, we have plagues today, and many of them. And we blindly think, oh, that can't be. It's a coincidence. It is not a coincidence. Ask yourselves, how far have we wandered from the truths which have been expounded not only by the Ten Commandments, not only by the scripture of Christ, not only by the science of yoga, the eightfold path of yoga. Yoga says yama niyama, those principles of right behavior which we should embrace, those principles of wrong behavior which we should shun. And the Ten Commandments repeat the very same principles. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt be faithful only to one, thou shalt not steal. All of these are part of the universal absolutes, those divine laws which have been set before mankind by our beloved God. He created this world in the most scientific and mathematical manner. He made it clear to us when he put forth these principles which were revealed to great souls like Jesus and like the great rishis of India. He put forth those laws that we might know or have some guidelines by which we could learn how to behave in this world. Now and then, down through the ages, have come great lovers of God. In the early years, in the early times, we had the principles expounded by Moses. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, isn't it? In other words, what you sow, you must reap. And then centuries later came Jesus Christ, and his was a teaching of great compassion. The world needed that at that time. They needed to learn something of forgiveness. There'd been too many ancient years of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Now we come to the time of Christ, which was a time of forgiveness, a time of compassion, a time of sharing. And that principle has existed down to the present time. There comes a time now when Guruji, as he was told by Babaji in communion with Jesus Christ, now we must send something that will enable mankind not merely to hear about Christ's teaching, not merely to talk about Christ's teaching, not merely to read or recite from the great scripture of India, the Bhagavad Gita. Now there is a time when man is going to hunger for something. And what is that something? Direct communion with the divine beloved. We're all made in his image. Not one of us, irrespective of our color, creed, our beliefs, are outside of that divine awareness. We are all part of him. Each one of us has within us that spark of the divine. Know ye not that ye are gods, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth within you? What is that Spirit of God? It is the soul, the Atman. That is what we are. But how many of us know that today? How many of us have wandered away from even remembering the divine for 1 minute? Our senses have become so jaded. Our sense of taste has become jaded by alcohol and wrong eating habits. Our eyes have become jaded by the sensuality that we behold in our daily lives. Our ears have become jaded by all of the evil things that we hear that are going on in the world. And our tongues have become jaded because we spew foul words, reflecting dark thoughts. We must change. That was the message of Master. That is why this work will grow on and on and on, because it's saying man must change. People will say, why did God do this to me? He didn't do it to us. We must take responsibility for ourselves. The wall doesn't mean to hurt us, but when we hit that wall, we break our knuckles or we break our head. This is what we must learn. He created those divine laws, and he set those forth in all of the great religions of the world. And he said, my child, these are the absolutes which you must follow. Now he knew that we were weak. He knew that we were frail. He knew we had lost that contact with him by becoming too much immersed in this material world. Those laws are there to help us know when we do wrong. We must not go against those ancient divine principles. We must get back to them again. We must realize that our kingdom is not of this world, that our kingdom is beyond this world. Our kingdom is that world beyond where the divine ones are, where the great religious teachers are. How many times I used to see Guruji, he suddenly become very quiet in his rooms, and some of us were privileged to sit at his feet and meditate with him. And after he had opened his eyes, he'd say, "You see this world so finite. You see it so imperfect. But if you could only see that great world beyond this, my kingdom is not of this world," he would say. Your kingdom, my dear ones, is not of this world. Let us not lose all of our awareness and spend all of our time in this world, because one day we must leave it. Now, one has said to me, how do we face what we call this doom and gloom in this world? Don't accept it. Don't accept it. It doesn't exist unless you allow it to exist. But change. How often each day do each one of us think of God? How often each day do we turn inward to God? It is so wonderful to live in that consciousness, to live always thinking, I love you, God. What a thrill it is. I love you, God. My friends love me because I love you. I love mankind because first I love you, God. I can forgive those who misunderstand me because I love you, God. I want only to do good in this world because I love you, God. That is the way we must live our life. Don't accept doom and gloom. It will go. In this world, civilizations have come and gone. And there have been many, many like this that we can't even remember. Though many of us, our souls have traveled through incarnation after incarnation. But this is not the end. There is that world beyond this. And the more we take our minds away and begin to, what shall I say, spiritualize our senses, try to look only to the good. Try to think only the good. It doesn't mean you become Pollyannas, but it means you have the will within you, you have the strength within you, you have the faith within you, you have the devotion within you to say, my God, I am yours. And whatever I can do in this part of the world where I am, whether it be my family, my neighbors, my community, whatever I can do, my Lord, I will do the best I can. I will cheer others, even though I myself may be struggling. I often remember what Guruji said. There are those saints who, even in the midst of their own sufferings, will try to bring cheer and healing into the lives of all who come to us. That is the attitude of a true lover of God. That no matter what happens, no one will come to him and go away feeling downtrodden, discouraged, failures. We are all his children, and we have, each one of us, that power by which we can conquer life. But we must believe it, we must practice it, and we must strive always to be cheerful. Guruji used to say, no one loves a sad saint. And he was the most joyous of them all, in the midst of all of his efforts to build this work and to serve. It isn't easy to serve God, but it isn't easy to live in this world, is it? But let us do it with joy, with cheerfulness, and with the determination that we will conquer, we will be all right, because the divine is behind us. Don't ever be a moody person. Don't ever be a negative person. Remember that. There are two sides. This world is created through that divine law of the positive and the negative. And each human being has the choice to make between I will be a positive human being and I will be a negative human being. But everybody loves to gather around that rose that gives off the fragrance of positive, sweet fragrance. No one wants to be around, as Guruji would say, the stinkweed. We avoid it. It's too negative. It depresses us. So make up your minds, all of you, to be positive, to be cheerful, to be joyous. And I promise you that if you do that, you will find that good will come your way, because it has a power to attract. If we live thinking negative thoughts, we will attract negative reactions. If we live positively, we will attract positive reactions. It's as simple as that. Like, my dears, attract like. I wanted to share with you, this is a book I wanted to bring here. This is a book that Guruji carried throughout the United States when he was speaking in the various classes. And there is in here the very essence of the spiritual life. You've heard it read again and again and again. And the first time that I met Guruji, he asked me to read this. I couldn't read it very well, but I understood why he was asking me to read it. And I ask you to close your eyes while I read it and think, this is the message that he is telling to me. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral stairways of wakefulness, I will whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. And when boisterous storms of trial shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises by loudly chanting, God, God, God. And when my mind weaves dreams with threads of memories, then on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. And every night, in time of deepest sleep, my peace dreams and calls, joy, joy, joy. And my joy comes singing evermore, God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating and chanting, and divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any, God, God, God. And that is the entire sum and substance of our relationship with God. I can never recall a time throughout all of those years that I saw Master's mind wander away from God. In the midst of joyous activities, it was God. In the midst of all of the concerns about the work, it was God. In times of quiet meditation, of course, it was always God. If we went on any picnic somewhere, it was always God. He made God the divine companion of his soul. And that is what we must do. That is the only way, my dears, that we can change ourselves, the only way we can change the world. Let us not be so busy trying to change others. Sometimes we become so uplifted, we're going to go out and change the world. First, change oneself. And by the example that we set, perhaps others will respond to us. That was why we loved Guruji, because we saw that kind of example in his life. We saw that he lived what he felt when he wrote that poem. That in the midst of all life's experiences, whether it was battle din of activity, whether it was during worries in building this great society, whether it was in the midst of dreams, whether it was teaching, whatever he was doing, his mind was centered. God was the pole star of his life. And I can remember whenever we came to him and we might be a little troubled, he would just touch us here, and he would say, just make God the pole star of your life. That is something we live by, and I would urge all of you to do the same. You are not these physical forms. I am not this. I know that I am that which is within you. I know that I am that which is thinking, which is throbbing, which is receiving from that divine source. And you all have that same opportunity. You have the same power, the same loving God within every one of you. Silently, silently talk to that one. He walks with me. He talks with me. He knows that I am his own. So must it be, my beloved, as with all of us. You have come from so far. You cannot know how deeply you've touched Daya Ma's heart. You can't know how deeply you have moved all of us who have served you here and will continue to serve you until the last breath within us. We are blessed that we can come together on this, the 100th anniversary of his birth. And there will be those who will come in the years ahead and celebrate the 200th anniversary. Some of us, well, I guess we'll all be there. Smiling down, rejoicing for all of those who will celebrate in the future. You know, the one responsibility among others that Guruji placed upon the shoulders of his disciples was this. As I have brought this teaching to you and kept it pure as it came from my Guru, so I give you this responsibility. Keep it pure, undiluted by anything. That is why you have found that neither Daya Ma nor any of these have attempted in any way to change or to dilute what he taught. It's important to keep that. Otherwise, down through the centuries to come, little by little, it'll be changed. Take the words of Christ. How much today is really known of what he meant? How many really live what he meant? The same applies to the great ones in India. How many really know, have experienced that which is mentioned in the Gita? But both are teaching the same universal truth, coming from the one Father of us all. We, in this day and age, must change. We must get away from too much materiality, too much sensuality. When we abuse these five senses, we lose our contact with God. We must get back to using them. My hands, as Guruji once said, "O Lord, my hands were made to do good in this world. My eyes were made to behold only good in this world." He knew that darkness was here also, but we mustn't, as he used to say to us, don't go around looking into the garbage pails of neighbors. Keep your eyes always on goodness. Look to the good. My ears were made to hear soft, loving sounds that remind me of thee. My eyes were made to behold only that which is good. My hands were made to do good. My speech was made to speak of you, my beloved. My speech was made to bring comfort to whomever I can in this world. Whoever comes with a painful heart, with a bleeding heart, with a suffering heart, let me pray for them. This worldwide prayer circle which Guruji founded before he left his body, that is so important. And I ask you all to join in that. There's a tremendous force that goes out when we, after meditation, pray for mankind. This is the way we will bring in that divine light. We mustn't wait for someone else to do it. We must do it. We must unite with all those around the world who are striving to bring goodness into this world. We must join them. We must do our part. Our hearts were made to love first God alone, and in loving that beloved one, to love all. The greatest of all wishes, prayers that Christ gave was, you must learn to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, sincerely, with all thy mind, with mind fully concentrated upon the Lord, with all thy strength, with all thy soul. And we can learn to love God with all our souls only when we sit in meditation and when the soul, which is part of Him, becomes connected with that divine dynamo, God alone. And then he goes on to say, and you must learn to love thy neighbor as thyself. Such is the great message coming from Him. Well, my beloved ones, it has been a joyous occasion to be with all of you, and I pray that we will meet again. I wish I could greet all of you individually, but it isn't possible. You've seen enough anyway. Just a word. Guruji has written here, hold on to love, truth, meditation, and service. Think of nothing but the light, and the gloom of ignorance shall disappear. The power of truth has been proved to you. Hold on with faith everlasting in the teacher, the teaching, and God. You shall see the goal, for lo, it is there, right before you. Now let me say that as a final closing, we will hear another excerpt from the cassette which has just come out of Master's last Christmas that he had with us all. And so I ask you to sit quietly and listen to it while meditating.
Every night think of the state of sleep, and you will know that you are made in the image of God. You read every day in the Bible. You hear people say you are made in the image of God. But when you put your face in the mirror, it isn't the image of God, it's the image of worry. Image of dreams and nightmares which are reflected on your face. But as you try again and again to imitate the state of sleep and consciously stay there, you jump into the land of superconsciousness where your body is dissolved and you come to a supernal joy, a light, a vibration which lights like a mirror the whole universe in it. You can dismiss that shadow of the dream in that universal mirror, or can remain locked up in that eternal joy where not a thought dare to disturb you, not a sound cross beyond the bars of your silence, in that eternal sphere where you are today. That sphere is yours. Because you unconsciously go there and think that this dream of life is reality, that's why the trouble. This world will go on like this, changes after changes. History is only a misnomer. It gives reality to the dreams of God. You must find within yourself that there is no space and time. There are no pictures there. They are from that infinite booth of eternity God is throwing around you. This picture, dream picture of the universe with all its terrors and all its troubles. Get away from this dream, nightmare of life, into the best proof from all bombs of suffering, into the great silence, into the great light, into the great sound of that eternal vibration, God's all-protective presence. You are there every night. Why do you think that you cannot get there? I am with you. You are listening to me through that ether. You think you are connected by a wire? No. You are connected by the ether. If it was a radio, there would not be any wire. But what in reality connects us who are distantly situated. It is the presence of God. All other forces of ether, light, electricity, these are all the dreams of God, various manifestations of God. It is His consciousness transformed into these forces. It is He that gives link to all matter, to all dreams. Without the dreamer's consciousness, the dream vanishes. Without the consciousness of God, the universe will vanish. So get behind all appearances into that great spirit, consciousness where there are no dreams and nightmares, but pure eternal joy, ever new joy that you can never be tired of. That is your goal.
Beloved ones, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna says, "He who watcheth me always, him do I watch. He never loses sight of me, I never lose sight of him." And so I pray from this time on that you will silently watch that beloved one. For in watching him, you will never lose sight of him, and he will never lose sight of you. The important thing is that we remember him. He remembers us always. It is we who are forgetful. Let us remember. Let us turn to that beloved one with devotion, but beyond devotion. Be able to say, "I love you, God. You are my own. I could love no one. I could not love my child, my parents, my husband, my wife. I could love nothing except that you have instilled in me this great feeling, this power to love. But above all, I love you. I love you, God." The greatest joy that the soul can ever know is to silently talk to the divine in the language of the soul. That is a love that can never disappoint us. And I speak from years of experience. Love God, love God, love God. Let us all pray together. Heavenly Father, Mother, friend, my beloved God, Jesus Christ, Bhagavan Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, beloved Gurudev, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, I bow to you all. O Divine Mother, beloved God, you who are both Father and Mother, friend to me, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of my devotion, and may I be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Make my soul thy temple. Make my heart thy altar. And O my beloved God, make my love thy home. I bow to you. God bless us all. I'll look forward to seeing you when you come again, and it will be my joy to see all of you if you come. God bless you. Come again. Come again. I didn't realize I'd been here 62 years. I must say, 62 years of the most blessed, blessed life that one could ever choose. I am overwhelmed with gratitude to that great guru who brought me here so many years ago. A life, yes, it has had its struggles. I don't mind those, because I've always known that I had one guru to whom I could turn, and I knew that I had one God to whom I belonged. And my greatest joy has been to see souls like you. I have truly no other goal in life but to serve you all and to see you all marching toward that goal. I want to see you all in love with my beloved, my God, your God. God bless you all.
This has been a production of Self-Realization Fellowship, a non-profit organization founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920. For more information about Self-Realization Fellowship and Paramahansa Yogananda, please visit yogananda.org.